Hey guys, on today's episode of Bake the Podcast, I sit down with my friend Jamie Domburg. We have the most amazing chat. And if there's anything you listen to today, listen to our conversation about boundaries. I think it was awesome and you'll enjoy it. Before we started recording, we were talking about access and allowing people to have certain access to you and close friends. Let's chat more about that.
I think I'm always inspired by people who, show up as an authentic self in every spaces, even like you, how do you do it? Because you've been in the game for a very long time, but often I see a lot of people write negative things towards you. Do you learn to have a tough skin, or is this just something you've learned how to deal
I
with?
don't have a tough skin. I'm actually a very sensitive person. I get so emotional. Wayne my husband is tough. He's gotten like global hatred, so he can handle himself. So I often go to him and he'll guide me through it. But what I've realized with the access conversation is like we were talking about close friend circle. So I post most of my content about my family and stuff. And anything I feel dear to me, I'll post it on close friends. Even if it's like behind the scenes of this podcast or whatever, and I don't want anyone's opinion on it, I'll post it to close friends because I know those people. My close friends is big also. There's like 200 people in there.
Oh, really?
Yes,
That's
it's
close
huge.
friends.
No, it's really, it's like medium close. So when I'll post in there and then I know that the response is generally more positive and I can handle that. And I've pulled back. I've pulled back on social media because I can't deal with the visceral hatred and the constant commentary, which is why I was reluctant to restart this podcast, because I didn't know if I could handle the feedback. But now I kind of know who I am. So it's not a thicker skin. It's just knowing myself a little bit better. And also, I've also gone on my own spiritual journey with my religion. And that's guided me a lot. You spoke about the Bible and spirituality and how it centers you. I really resonate with that, even as a Muslim, because I've started learning the Quran as a 34-year-old. I never did it before. And it changed everything for me. The perception of, people are living their own reality and like they're projecting a lot of what they're going through and what triggers them. And sometimes I trigger somebody, through my actions. And that's not necessarily about me. That's kind of what I had to accept to be in this industry.
That is beautiful right there, because I think it's that sense of self and sense of self-awareness that you get to, once you find out and figure out who you are away from all of these other things. You know what I mean? Once you're so confident and comfortable in who you are and what you put out there, that doesn't even matter for you. So that's why I wanted to touch base with that question.
Yeah. And you know what? I started doing this when I was 18 years old. I've grown up on the internet. And I don't think I knew myself then like I do now. Not saying I'm perfect. I'm still on my journey and I'm still getting to know myself better and I change all the time. But back then it was more about the audience and what they thought. So it hurt me badly. If you didn't like me, it really affected me. Now I know kind of where I sit with most people and I know what I'm dealing with. And also my audience is a little bit older. So they're in their 30s and 40s. They're not really necessarily the hateration of it all, they're not going to be hating in the soiree. They are more mature. So that does help. But it definitely it gets to me. I don't know. I think it would get to everyone.
It does, because if you're constantly reading and if you're fueling yourself with the validation of other people,
that's the thing.
It's always going to trigger you. It's always going to come back to you. But when you're so secure in who you are, then nothing can actually shift that.
Nothing can shift you. So Wayne said this to me 10 years ago. We were 24, 25. And he said to me, if you love the positive comments so much, then you're going to hate the negative comments more. So he's like, stop, do things for you and not for the attention, not for the validation. Because if you love the validation so much, the minute they turn on you, it feels so sore. And it happened exactly like that when things started turning, because he met me at the cusp of my career starting. And I loved it. It was amazing. Everyone was positive. It was so easy. And then the minute it shifted, a few years later, I couldn't handle it. It really took me down.
Everyone needs a Wayne. I feel like everyone needs a
Wayne.
Wayne
Is so good. Wayne is also a bit of a ball buster. He's very strict. He's like a 70-year-old man in a 35-year-old's body. But he helps me a lot when it comes to that. And I think partnership or a good friendship is very important. Or a parent that can be that person for you, that can hold you accountable and also tell you, you're loving this a little too much, Jamie. Like, is this going to your head in terms of like, are you proud of yourself or are you proud of everybody loving who you are now? That's kind of what you have to do. But I think as moms as well, you kind of cut the bullshit when you have kids, honestly.
You have to.
No,
you have
it's
to, because you're also teaching them that, like, what do you accept in your life? And eventually they look up to you and they think, oh my word, so if my mom's accepting this, I have to accept that. But no, you almost have to have the boundaries.
Yes.
You have to know yourself. And again, it's a journey. You're not always going to know yourself. There's going to be days where you don't know who you are, but coming back to the center of who you are, to the core of you,
Yes.
will always be the best thing for yourself.
You know, people always ask, I'm sure they ask you this all the time, like, how are you so confident? I'm sure you've got that question your whole life.
It's confidence.
Yeah.
It's confidence, you know. I didn't see it because it was just naturally who I am and who I was. So people even always ask this question, oh, were you not confident when you were bigger? I'm like, oh my word, I was more confident because I almost had to be. I had to show up more because people always had this narrative, because you're bigger, you're not as confident. They projected on, oh, because, you know, you look uncomfortable. And I was like, no, I was actually more confident. Now I'm having to work hard on that confidence because I'm showing up to the world differently, or I look differently. But yeah, I just am.
Yeah. That's what I also say. I don't work on my confidence. I don't think I'm the most confident person. It's just the only way I know how to operate. And I like being in front of the camera. I like doing that. And it was also hard for me to admit that, you know, because you want to be like humble. And then maybe saying that you like being in front of the camera is like plays on that. Like, is it the most humble thing to say? I don't know. But now I've learned, like, actually, I do like doing this. And why should I deny myself the opportunity to have a platform and like be out there? Because I'm afraid of comments, and like my confidence shouldn't be rooted in that, you know. But I would say that I'm like a shy person generally, actually. But this is the only way I know how to express myself.
I'm so proud of you. You have really grown so much, because I've been
thanks,
one of those
babe.
people that have seen you in your early 20s and see the shift now to where you are, and just so at peace with who you are. I think it's so beautiful to witness. And I think people is either going to appreciate that about you, or they're going to be like, oh, she's changed. You had to change.
I have to change.
You're not the 18-year-old Aisha anymore. You are now Aisha the mom. You're Aisha the podcast girl. You're the host. You're the person that still loves to create, but just with more boundaries.
And more purpose. Like, there's a purpose to this now. I'm not doing it for like gratification or validation or for you to like me. I'm doing it because I want to chat to you, and through our conversation we can inspire not only each other but other people as well. It's, you know, watching this. Hey guys, it's Aisha Baker from Bake the Podcast. I am sitting in my living room and I just recorded my whole podcast with the beautiful equipment rented from Orms. I've got lighting, sound, cameras, tripods, the works. If you need equipment, check out orms.co.za for your equipment and for great deals on cameras and other things that you might need. We don't really talk about the cosmetic procedures. So it was kind of refreshing to see like a local person discussing, you know, going through a breast reduction. Because people say like, oh, I had a breast reduction, and then they leave it there. Or I had my boobs done, and they leave it there. And then you had gone and people got into it, eh? You were saying some people even showed up at the hospital.
It's crazy because I am very vulnerable with everything in my life and my journey, and I thought that this would be a great teaching moment because I saw the amount of people reach out and be like, oh, I want to do it. You know, if I had access, if I had money, or I'm saving up for it, or I understand where you're coming from with regards to bras being expensive, or, you know, the extra weight that we continuously carry on us, on our bodies, and just like not being able to wear things that you can wear every day that other people can wear. And so at first I was going to be very quiet about it, but I was like, no, let me use this to inspire other women out there, other people out there, just to do the same and be vulnerable about with your journey. And it was crazy. It's the best thing that I could have ever done. I'm still getting used to this new body. I went bra shopping.
Oh my word. And finally you get to buy a
time.
bra at the shop.
I just went to a normal store and I was like, at first I had PTSD because it's like, what? I can't go to the store.
Like, where's the measuring tape?
And then I just realized I can buy a normal bra and not have to get myself measured or pay close to 700 Rand for one bra. And it's just been so refreshing. But I do think that I allowed a lot of people access into my space at that time, which was a bit scary because, like I mentioned, I did have a bit of an experience at the hospital where people were like, we wanted to take pictures with you straight after coming out of surgery.
My goodness
and I was
gracious.
still high on morphine, and I was like, no, my hair. I don't look
I
like I have
know.
hair, but like, I was like, oh my word, please let me put on. I didn't
Yeah.
even think of that, but I was just like, oh my word. And my mom was with me, and so she was a bit frightened because this is the first time that we had this
And having
experience.
surgery is also a very traumatic experience. Like, it's not something that's like a walk in the park. You don't just go in and come out with a new set of boobs. It's like a whole thing, you know. You're
Yeah.
put under. And I always go through this, are you a spiritual person?
I am.
When I had my surgery, I had a surgery on my leg and they put me under. I was like freaking out because I wanted to know, where am I going? Because like, you're not dying.
Yeah.
So where am I in this moment? Like if I'm in an induced coma or like whatever, I'm under. Where am I? Like I want to know where my soul was. I woke up like crying, sobbing, and they were like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I need to pee." That's the first thing I said. And then I was like sobbing the whole day because I didn't know where I was, and I don't like that feeling of being like out of body. So I would never have surgery again unless I really had to, because I couldn't handle that. Like my mind just went crazy.
I didn't even think of that. I didn't even ask those questions. I was just so excited to have the surgery done, and but I didn't even think of that. Like, where do you go to?
Where
Like,
do you go?
What is happening
What
to your
happens
body?
to you?
And also just like your mind, because you are in an induced state of, I mean, just stillness.
Yes.
And you are heavily medicated. Heavily medicated.
And I just feel like when you're in recovery, right? I think there's an element of like your body's getting used to sort of this new body and all the medications you were under. But then I feel like your soul's also left and needs to come back. I honestly feel that way. Like when you told me about your experience and just having a rough journey into recovery, I'm like, no one talks about even when a mom gives birth. Like you kind of need to like reconnect everything. That's why with my second child, I didn't go anywhere. I stayed home and I was in my pajamas and I felt like I needed like my spirit to come back into myself. And it sounds kind of crazy. This is not stuff that I talk about on the internet because like people will be like, this child's wacky. I've actually made a TikTok about it and I deleted it because I couldn't deal with
Why?
everyone knowing. Because I just felt like, spiritual stuff, sometimes people get offended
Triggered.
by it or triggered. But that's truly what I believe. I believe your body went away, your soul went away, and it needed to come back to Jamie and like get back in there. So there's like, it's like you're an empty, your body. Do you know what I mean? Like
I
your
hear
soul's
you.
lost and it's flying because we're not supposed to like be dead and then come back alive. Like that's not what's supposed
I
to
always
happen to
call
us.
it like the come to Jesus moment.
Yeah.
Like it's just more than a spiritual experience. It's the realignment of whatever you're holding on to, like to your core.
Yes.
So if you're a person of faith or a person that's spiritual, that's that realignment of the physical and the spiritual.
And I think things end in those moments. That's what I find. Like relationships come to a close or like things close off because you almost need to let go of any like extra dead weight, which I think we chatted about as well. Off air. What do we call this? Air line, offline, off podcast. But yeah, we chatted about that, and it's like things come to an end, and you're almost reborn now. And I can see that in you, having not seen you. This is the first time I've seen you since you're up, and then I've seen you just before, like maybe a week before, and I can see there's a difference in you. Besides, obviously, your confidence now and feeling more like yourself. But I think your soul's now, it went on a journey and it's come back and now you're ready to sort of embark on this next step,
I think I needed, and it's exactly like you said, that a lot of things I had to let go of in this last 3 months of recovery. It did feel like it was that reset for me. And I'm glad that it happened now when I was strong enough, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, to take that on. I think also hearing your experience makes me feel so good that I know that someone else went through it. Because again, it's not spoken about enough. It's frowned upon. Surgery is frowned upon. It's seen as this cosmetic thing. But people do it for different reasons. You know what I mean? When you have a child, you don't have a choice, basically. You're doing this. You got to get that baby out. Like, how's the child coming out of my baby? Like Mama JJ.
Did you have a natural birth or a Caesar?
I had a C-section, an emergency C-section. And you?
I had a natural birth, one traumatic. I say it was a Caesar of the vagina, but the other...
Did you have the...
No, they didn't cut me or anything, but it was so violent. And then the second time was like textbook, beautiful experience, but I was always afraid of being like cut. And then last year I went to a restaurant and they threw a sparkler on my leg, my bare leg. And I got infected and like the sparkler got stuck under my skin and I had to remove like remove it surgically. So I'd avoided surgery my whole life, and then I had this surgical thing, and like my poor anesthetist, she was like, shame she couldn't deal with me because I was asking all these questions. I'm like, will I feel the scalpel? Am I where am I going? What is happening to my brain activity? Like I was asking all these questions because I'm that person who needs to know every detail. Having said that, I would, if I needed to, I would have a breast reduction. I would have cosmetic procedures. I don't have anything against it. I think you do what you need to do to feel good. I'm not against any sort of self-improvement of any kind. And I think that, I don't know, at our age, if that's the right thing to say. I hate saying it because it sounds so old, but like at this stage of life, you want to improve yourself and you want to get to the next step, whether that's physically, emotionally, mentally, or with your diet. And I think we in that phase, both of us.
I think find things that work for you.
Yeah.
A lot of there's always going to be someone saying, oh, I wouldn't do that. Good for you, babe.
Yeah.
Good that is not your reality, but I never want that or my experience I don't want to project that on someone else for why they should be doing things that's improving themselves. Whether you do it the holistic way, whether you do it for cosmetic reasons, it should always be about what you want to do and understanding your why and all of that.
Yes, understanding your intention behind everything. I want to pivot a little bit to like internet responses because I'm honored enough to be a part of your close friends. And I know sometimes on there you express, if people have bad intentions towards you, they need to keep them to themselves. And do you experience like any backlash from the internet? Is that something that goes on in your life, or is it more in sort of your close environments?
Fortunately not. Touch wood, I haven't really had a lot of bad experiences, but there have been things that I'm just like, I question as to why would someone take the time to talk ill about anyone or use their time, use their data. I'm always saying like you're using your whole MTN data to come onto my page to spread something that's negative or asking me like, oh my word, I liked you better when you were bigger.
I hate that.
Why would you say
That's
that to
one of
anyone?
my most like, I get triggered when I see it where people are like, I preferred you with, like, it's not your appearance, so you don't have to deal with it. Like, thank you for liking me better, bigger or smaller, or with bigger breasts or smaller breasts. Like, I want to like me.
Exactly. And the moment you clap back, or the moment you say something else, and people's like, oh, you're being a diva, or you're saying things. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to protect my peace and also use this moment to teach this person that it's not okay to say certain things. Because I have this platform, I think we often held in different categories, if I had to say that.
But one thing I must say that's nice, you're speaking about platforms, with TikTok and these spaces that are making, everybody has a platform these days. I think it's going to then lean into kindness because people are starting to see that actually, if I'm going to write shit in Jamie's profile, someone might write shit on my profile and it becomes a whole thing. So I think there is a shift. Definitely. And maybe that's why you've experienced it less than maybe most other people I speak to in your position, because there's been a shift now. And when you've had a change and your weight or having your breast reduction, and also you're just in a glow up phase, let's just be honest, a magazine cover and everything. Usually people would experience a lot of hate around that time. And I think there's a little bit of a shift on social media anyway, where the comments aren't so bad.
And I think also it's what you put out there. I don't ever want to put that out there because it's not my narrative. I'm not a mean person. I'm not an unkind person. So I'm hoping that by putting that out there, it's not coming back. Unfortunately, we are put in this position where we put our lives out there for the public. But I think now in this season, I'm also very intentional about who has access to me, because before I was just an open book. Whether you're my friend, whether you're someone that's been following my journey for a long time, everyone would get a little piece of me. So
what changed that for you? When did you decide to sort of protect your personal space?
I think after my surgery.
Okay.
So it's been, I knew it was coming because I could see that there was a shift in, I'd meet someone and they could tell me everything about my life.
Yeah,
they'd be like, oh my word, how's it? And I'm
Yeah.
like, wait, how do you know me? Like, and they'd be like, oh no, because I saw this on your social media. And I was like, oh, I should maybe just be a bit more mindful of what I'm putting out there. Or the way people would come to see my son or my mom.
Yeah.
And they don't.
They feel a connection to something that, and it's odd because you never met them, but they've met you so intimately.
And it's good that they, love my family, and it's good that they do that. But at the same time, my son and my mom didn't ask to be in this industry. My mom didn't go for media training. My mom is just like, she'll probably call the Daily Voice or whatever because she doesn't know. And so I got so fearful to expose them to this world of mine that they didn't ask for. So I always had to be a bit mindful. And I think as my son is getting older, and as my mom, who's also a person that just wants to share and give, and she'll invite you for slangertjies at our house.
Oh my gosh, I love.
I had to just be like, wait, hold up, this is a different.
Yeah, you need boundaries.
I need boundaries.
Did you never have boundaries before? Just in your career or in every aspect?
Every aspect, because
Really?
there is no difference.
I
My
feel like as
career is
colored
me
children, we're not taught boundaries. Where did you grow up?
in retreat.
Me too. So
Were you born in retreat?
yes, do you know Daisy Hill Road?
No way.
That's my first house. And my mom lives, my grandmother, I call her my mom, my grandmother lived like 4 blocks from us in Steenburg, in Geloofstraat.
I know Geloofstraat.
Okay.
That's crazy. I didn't
That's
know
where I
this.
grew up. And I feel like we were not taught boundaries. I'm from a big family. I have like 25 first cousins on my dad's side. And like all our uncles and aunts were like our moms and dads. My grandparents raised us. So we were not taught boundaries. I mean, cousins bath in the same bath. That was the culture that I grew up in. So learning boundaries as an adult was very difficult for me. I had to go to therapy to be taught. My therapist always says your life is circles. You the center and there are various rings around you. You can't let everyone into the center ring. And that didn't make sense for me for years. And then I met my husband. He's from PE. And he is so different to me. He's got very firm boundaries. And he had to teach me sort of how to have boundaries in relationships, in friendships. And because I'd always be so sad that all my friendships would end. And he'd be like, obviously, because you have no boundaries. He's like, you guys are you inserted in each other's lives. Like, you need to have space. And because he has relationships that have lasted for so many years. And I'm like, how do you do this? Like, I always fall out with people. He's like, of course, if I'll fall out with you because we live together. So
Yeah.
you're including everybody in the husband zone or in the family zone. And we fight with our families, don't we? So
do.
if we let friends and colleagues in there, obviously this is going to happen.
That's so beautiful, and I love that you actually share that about your husband even teaching you that, because it's only when you're a bit older.
Yeah.
I feel like some people become a bit more self-aware younger in these days because they have access
Oh,
to.
yeah, the Gen Zs are very
Yes,
self-aware.
they have access to therapists, and that wasn't something we had access to growing up.
Yeah.
Now that we're older, we learn more and we know better.
Yes.
Or not know better, but we're learning how to manage
How
these
to
things.
navigate that.
So even having access to that now, I think it's so amazing to come to a place where you can go for therapy,
Yes.
or have a partner that is holding space for you to say, you know what, you don't have boundaries. Because also as a brown child, we just out there, we open, we do all these
So
things, but we
open.
don't compartmentalize certain things in our lives, like being a mom, being a wife, being a friend, being in the industry where it's transactional and it's not just always
I've
about
also had to
friendship.
learn that different roles require different hats. Even with my kids, I try and teach them that mommy needs downtime. You can't come. So I grew up where if my mom was in the shower, in the bath, we were all there. It wasn't, there were no boundaries. It wasn't like, oh, my mom closed the door. We would come in there to talk to her. So then I learned that with my kids, I need to actually tell them mommy's going to have a bath. I do this once a week. I have a salt bath. It's my best time of my week. Lay in the bath and I watch Netflix, or if I'm feeling whatever, I'll listen to meditation, but that never happens. It's always Netflix. And I always tell them mommy needs me time. I need downtime. And that's something I wasn't taught. Mothers didn't show that they needed time to relax. My grandmother was switched on from the minute she woke up until we left the house. And my mom as well. She woke up and we just saw them busy and doing things. So I want to teach my kids that I'm a person too, a human being. And even though I wear the mommy hat and I've made dinner and done all these things, I need to have a bath and relax and soothe myself as well, because I'm a person.
I love that, because we give so much of ourselves to everyone else.
Yes.
But what do we have left over for us? And I always say this, it's my thing that I say is if your cup is not full, you have nothing left to give. But now I don't even want to be full anymore. Your cup needs to be overflowing and it needs to be
Yes.
abundant. So take that salt bath, watch at Netflix, close the door, and shut it down, because like your kids are going to always constantly need you, your husband, everyone's going to constantly need
Everybody needs me.
Everybody
Even
needs
the damn
you.
cat needs me.
The cat needs you.
I know.
Philip.
I'm like, why am I your favorite person in this house? I'm like, I can't, I'm not an animal person. Even the cat loves me the most in the house. I'm like, this is so hectic. So just to end off, we talked about self-care. What is something that you do to fill your cup, or just to kind of replenish after work or traveling or just a normal day?
I serve my Bible. I
Okay.
think to the core of me, that's always my faith has just held me and kept me who I am. So when I have the moments of when it's crazy busy season, when I'm struggling and it just feels like everything's out of place, my quiet time with me and my creator, with God, like I'm a Jesus gal. I'm a Jesus girl through and through. So
That's very sweet.
that's my one thing that I always find center in and realignment for everything else, so that I go out there, whatever space I'm in, to make sure that I'm full and in the season of abundance, so I can give to other people as well.
Oh, that's so beautiful, Jamie. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
My first guest.
Yay,
I'm so glad.
she's back.
Yeah. Thanks, Jamie. Woo.